Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 65. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and it is springtime in Nashville, which means I have allergies. So I apologize if I sound a bit odd today. For those of you that participated in the Get It Done Challenge last week, thank you so much. I had so much fun recording daily podcasts, jumping on Facebook Live, and then being able to share those with you on the podcast. I didn't even realize that video podcasts were an option. And as soon as I realized that they were, I was like, oh, we have to try this out. So I hope you had fun last week as well, just shaking things up and doing things a bit differently. And if you participated, I hope you got a lot done and you realized that it's not just about how much, you're working in a day to check things off, but really managing your to-do list, your priorities, and realizing that you cannot do it all. And it's okay to say no. It's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to set boundaries and rules around your schedule so that you can get done what you know is most important. So I hope that you got a lot out of it. I did want to remind you that today is the last day that you can get the benefit of the early bird special for the Life and Law Live event. So if you enjoy listening to this podcast, if you enjoyed going through that challenge and you like interacting, you like the real talk, you like practical solutions, please come join me in Phoenix, November 7th through the 9th. We're going to have a cocktail reception the evening of the 7th. It will not be your typical networking reception that makes, all of my introverts sweat. It's not going to be like that at all. And then on the 8th and the 9th, we're going to be in a room doing workshops. So you're going to be up on stage with me if you want. We'll have volunteers. We'll do live coaching. We're going to work through all of this stuff together. It's really about strategic planning for 2019, but it's strategic planning for life and law. So it's really looking at what all do I really want out of my life, out of my career, and how do I know what to focus on, right? Because we have seasons. You can't do everything at once. So how do you really figure out what's going to give you the most satisfaction in the short term while also staying focused on what you truly want in the long term? And that is what Life and Law Live is all about. It's this concept of the podcast. It's this concept of the challenge and Facebook Live and interaction and engagement, but in a room together, supporting each other, having fun, connecting, and finding just other amazing attorneys across the country that you can connect with. So I hope you'll come join us. The early bird special that ends today, that is 50% off the ticket price. It also includes a free Life and Law Planner, a free 2019 Life and Law Planner, as well as undated downloadable templates for this year so that you don't have to wait until 2019, and free group webinars in June and September to help you with your third and fourth quarter planning. So similar to the challenge, they will be live group webinars where you really get a lot of to-do items. And when I say to-do, I mean practical tips on what you need to be doing, exercises, as well as my support and guidance. So there's a ton of value there for, quite frankly, one of the most affordable event that I have ever put on. And it is going to be a ton of fun. I cannot wait to meet you guys in person. So just go to lifeandlawlive.com and we will put that in the show notes for you as well. All right, so today's episode is all about key performance indicators, also known as KPIs. That's the acronym in the business world, KPIs. So if you went to business school or if you're in-house, potentially if you're in the government, you've maybe heard of this concept of KPIs. If you're in a law firm, this may be completely new to you because, as I often like to say, lawyers and law firms aren't always good at business, and we're changing that. So the reason why we're talking about it today is I thought, everybody just went through this challenge. They're trying to do a better job of staying focused, of getting rid of the clutter, of saying no, but how do you really keep it up, right? It's one thing to be in a challenge where you've got momentum and you've got a lot of support around you, but how do you make sure that you are on track and you don't slip back into old bad habits? And I thought, I think the best tool that I could share with them is this concept of key performance indicators. So it's bridging the gap between what you're doing on a daily basis and what you would be doing if you were setting goals or, your vision or your strategy for your firm, your career, your family, whatever. Okay? So a key performance indicator is exactly what it sounds like it is. It is a tool that allows you to monitor and track and gauge how productive you are on any given day, week, whatever time period you're capturing. And when I say productive, I don't mean busy. I mean productive in terms of getting closer to your goal. So oftentimes when we set goals, we simply track against the result we're looking for. So for example, if you have a monthly revenue goal or a monthly billable goal, maybe personally you have a monthly budgetary goal on how much you're spending or saving. Maybe you have a goal related to, your weight. Oftentimes, people simply track against that. So if you said, I want to make, X amount of money this month or X amount of money this year, then you're probably tracking on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis how much you've made, right? So think of it in those like fundraising charts that they have. There's generally a goal at the top and then they, keep increasing the red line or whatever that's filling it up to show you where you are compared to the goal. And that's what most people do. We just look at the numbers. So similarly, if you've got a budget and you're trying to save a certain amount, you simply look at, okay, well, how much have I saved compared to how much have I said I'm going to save? What do I weigh compared to what my goal weight is? Here's the thing, that gives you information as to where you are and where you want to be, but it does not give you any information as to whether or not what you're doing on a day-to-day basis is actually going to help you get any closer to your goal, right? So when we're looking at numbers just from a comparison perspective, it simply is a reminder that we're not doing a very good job or that we are doing a good job, but we don't know why, right? It doesn't tell us, do we have a solid strategy? Are we focused on the wrong things? It doesn't give us any information like that. That's where a key performance indicator comes in because that's what the job is of a KPI, okay? Now, you don't want a ton of KPIs because it's going to get to, you just can't track all of that. That ends up being inefficient. But you do want one or two KPIs for whatever your goal is. So we can talk about, and I will a little bit, I'm going to give you some examples, what a KPI looks like for a big overall goal. But if you just went through the Get It Done Challenge last week, and there are certain things that you need to be doing on a regular basis to manage your schedule better, then let's use that for now. That can be your KPI. And it's different for everybody. So you've got to figure out where's your strength, where's your strategy, and what's the best indicator of whether or not you are staying on top of what you're supposed to be doing. So for some of you, the most important part of managing your schedule may be keeping up with your super to-do list. It may be using the priority matrix as things come in, or using the priority matrix with your to-do list in general. It may be not answering the phone or your emails all day long, right? It might be minimizing your notifications. It might be blocking and tackling work for a few hours a day when you can. It might be delegating. It might be asking for help. It might be saying no to new things that are coming in. It might be saying no to things that you need to clean out of your schedule. It could be any number of things. But if you look back at what you did last week, whatever gave you in your mind the biggest relief, then your KPI is how much are you doing that every day? How much are you doing that every day? Now, sometimes you have an actual number to track, and sometimes it's you just being honest, right? It's just an honest assessment. So you might have a scale on 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. How often was I adding things to my to-do list? Or on a scale of 1 to 5, how well did I do at not allowing distractions to interrupt my time when I was supposed to be planning ahead and really working through work, right? So whatever it is for you, you want to have that KPI that you're identifying, what's the key performance indicator, and then you want to rank it. Now, you might actually have a number. So, for example, you may decide, well, actually, the biggest key for me on how well I'm doing is how many emails are in my inbox. Okay? So each day, if that's true for you, then you would want to write down the number of emails left, right? So that would be your key performance indicator. It could be an actual number as opposed to a ranking. I'm just trying to get you to see that it can be either or. It doesn't have to be the same for everyone. But if you're then tracking this on a daily basis, that is going to give you a clue as to whether or not you're doing a good job overall of managing your time. All right, so let's get a little bit more specific so you can see how you might also use this to reach set goals. All right, so let's say you are a solo attorney and you have a revenue goal for the year of $300,000. Okay. What is the behavior that you need to be doing in order to most likely hit that revenue goal? Right? So often we say, okay, here's my revenue goal, and then we have ideas of what to do, and then we just track against it each month. Not helpful, gives you a snapshot, but doesn't really tell you what you're doing right or wrong. So I want you to think through that. This is going to help you with your strategy. What gets you the most money? Does that mean you're going to need to be doing presentations? Does it mean you need to be following up with current clients to get referrals? Do you need to be doing coffees or lunches with other attorneys for referrals? Do you need to be doing consults with potential clients? Or do you simply need to do the work that you have, right? It could be any number of things. You've got to figure out for you, what's the top 1 or 2 actions that are most likely to help you reach that goal? And then you track against it. So it could be a daily tracker or it could be a weekly tracker. If you have never tracked before, I encourage you to do it on a daily basis. Otherwise, you'll probably forget. So if you're doing it weekly or monthly, you might forget the next week or the next month. If you're doing it daily, it starts to really create that routine. So again, if you've never really tracked a KPI before, that's where I recommend that you start. So let's say that for you, getting to $300,000 is probably a combination of 2 things. One is working a certain number of hours a day on a certain kind of work, right? So, if you have a ton of small clients, it might be hard to really make the most of your day. So maybe there's a certain type of litigation that really lets you just sit down and bill, 4 or 5 hours in a good block each day. Okay. So maybe that is one KPI. One KPI would be how many hours did you bill that day? Or how much work did you do on a certain type of case that day? And then another KPI, because it's a combination for you, it would be business development activities. And you may have determined there's a few different things that I have to do, and I know they work well. So as opposed to just picking one, I'm just going to say, I know that I need to be spending time on business development, right? Like I know the activities. This is not an instance where I'm just kind of like throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping something will stick. I know what my secret combination is. Okay, so that would be your second KPI then. How many hours did I spend on business development that day? And if you have a goal related to the KPI, that's fine. So let's say every day you know that you need to be spending an hour on business development, okay? So then you might rank. As opposed to having a number, you might rank 1 to 5 how well you did at focusing on an hour of business development that day. Or again, if the goal is 1, you would just put down how many hours you spent that day and it allows you to see. Same thing with the second part of your KPI related to billing on a certain type of matter. You would track that each and every day. Here's what's going to happen. If you're not spending time on business development, if you are billing but not billing on the type of case you want, or if you're not billing enough at all, right? Whatever your KPI is, but in this example, we're doing billing for a certain type of case as well as business development hours. If you see each and every day that you are not doing well with those things, then you're probably not going to hit your revenue goal. A KPI is an indicator of whether the actions that you are taking on a daily basis is likely to get you closer to your goal. Now, don't get me wrong. You might still haphazardly stumble your way across the finish line, right? But it generally doesn't happen. Oftentimes we get disappointed that we didn't reach our goal and we don't really know why. The KPI is going to tell you whether or not you're doing what needs to be done to reach the goal. It'll also tell you if your strategy's good. So let's say that you've said, okay, I know I've got my secret combination and I just have to put in the business development work. So let's say that your KPI is tracking against that and your goal is an hour a day. And you actually do that. I mean, you are knocking it out of the park. So for 3 months, you are tracking your KPIs and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this. And yet I don't have any new cases or new clients. That's an indicator that your strategy's actually off. So it doesn't just tell you, are you doing the right things every day? It's going to give you feedback on whether or not your strategy is working. And a strategy that used to work in the past may not work now. And that's the beauty of a KPI. It's going to give you feedback as to whether or not your strategy is solid. So obviously, business development can sometimes take time, but if in the past those efforts would have resulted in business, then you can say, okay, I need to try something else. And then you shift your KPI and follow that. And if it improves your results, then you know, okay, I've got a new KPI. So this is why KPIs are so important, and it's why businesses use them all the time. So with businesses, especially if you have a small business, some really large companies do this really well too. They get everybody on the same page and they get everybody focused. So let's say you have either quarterly priorities and goals or annual priorities and goals. First off, they're limited and you let everyone in the company know what they are. And then if you're really, really good, you have KPIs for every department and every individual. So if you can do this, right, with your own little team, you may be thinking, well, I'm an associate. Okay, well, fine. But if you've got an awesome assistant, the two of you can do it together, or a paralegal, do it together. If you've got other associates on the team, see if they'll come on board and do it with you. If you are a partner, do this with, your own team. If you are in-house and, either do it yourself or recommend it to your supervisor, although you might already have KPIs, maybe there's a new way for you to do it. And if you propose something like this and it helps either the bottom line, efficiency, whatever, people are going to love you and think you're brilliant. And they're going to love that you were being a forward thinker. So with the team aspect in mind, what are the overall goals? And then think about, how does each person support that goal? How do they have daily action that supports reaching the goal? And then you create a KPI for them around that. And then everyone's tracking their KPI. And when everyone is doing great on their KPI and you start to see results, that is so rewarding, and it really builds teams as well. Everyone wants to feel needed. Everyone wants to feel like they have a place. And when they can see how they fit within the overall picture of the company, and that can be the firm, guys, it could be your own little team. If they can see how they fit in and they know exactly what they're contributing, that's just so much more motivational than coming in and punching, your time, just to get a salary. That is not what keeps people motivated and engaged. So you can use this KPI concept with your entire team, your entire firm, to get everybody on the same page. And it's going to help people the same way that the priority matrix helps people, in that you see what's most important. So if you know that all of these other things are little distractions that aren't getting you closer to your goal, it's a helpful reminder, well, that's not going to help me with my KPI today. So when I'm trying to decide which is more important, I know where I need to spend my time. So I think that KPIs are a wonderful tool. They're taught in business school. They are not taught in law school. And so I wanted to make sure that you knew about them. Now, if you're interested in this KPI concept, I'm going to give you a reference, although I hesitate to provide it to you because when I first learned of it, I think I fell in a black hole and came out a few days later. And I don't want you wasting time, okay? Because this probably is the not urgent, not important category on the priority matrix. And don't do that, okay? And for those of you that did not do the challenge and you're like, what are you even talking about, priority matrix? Go back to episode number 3 and that will fill you in. Okay, so you can go to kpilibrary.com and we'll put that in the show notes for you. It is basically this huge library of all of these different KPIs for your industry, your department, your function, and it's too much. It's way too much. So like I said, I hesitate to even share this with you. But here's what I want you to do. If you like this KPI concept, if you start using it for yourself, and then you start using it for your team, and you're getting really excited about it, and you're like, I want some more advanced learning around this, then go check out the library. Okay, so I want to make sure you have the resource, but don't go visit it and then get so overwhelmed that you don't ever use the KPI to begin with, because this is a super easy, useful tool. Okay? And by the way, this is exactly the kind of stuff that we work on with strategy sessions. So if you come to Life and Law Live, which is a strategic planning session for your life and law in 2019, this is exactly the type of stuff we'll go over, and you'll be able to get feedback in real time and ask me questions. So again, I really hope you come join me for Life and Law Live in Phoenix, November 7th through the 9th. You can go to lifeandlawlive.com and get your early bird bonuses, including a 50% discount today. Today is the deadline for that. You'll still be able to sign up afterwards if there's room, but you're not going to get all of those specials and discounts and bonuses. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.